Today, we're jumping into a really powerful memoir by Jacob Thompson called From Diagnosis to Destiny. It's an incredible story about who we think we are, what happens when that's taken away, and how sometimes our biggest struggles can actually point us to our true purpose.
But before we dive into Jacob's life, let me ask you something right off the bat. What is your identity built on? Seriously, think about it. Is it your career, your family, maybe a skill you have? Just keep that question in the back of your mind as we go through this.
You know, author Chris Maxwell really hits the nail on the head here. This isn't just a story about things going wrong, it's a challenge. It dares all of us to keep fighting, to find that hope, even when it feels like everything is stacked against us. So let's start at the beginning, back when Jacob's world felt completely solid. To really get the impact of what happened later, you first have to understand what his life was built on. For Jacob Thompson, his whole world, his entire sense of self, was built on being a gifted athlete. I mean, from the time he was a little kid, his worth, who he was, it was all tied up in what his body could do. And this started super young. We're talking kindergarten age young. Get this, at just 5 years old, he's setting the school pull-up record. By 11, a coach is telling him he's got what it takes to play pro baseball. Fast forward to high school, and he's a star in not one, not two, but 3 sports. When someone asked him how he wanted to be remembered, his answer was simple. Number 23 on the football team. That wasn't just a number, that was him. So you can see this foundation he built, right? But what happens when that foundation, which is all based on physical strength, starts to crack? A storm was coming, and it was about to wash everything away. And the thing is, it wasn't some big dramatic moment. No sudden injury, no one bad game. It was slower, creeping, just this confusing feeling that his body wasn't listening to him anymore. And look, the numbers just didn't make any sense. After all that training, years of it, he was actually getting slower. His 40-yard dash time was faster as a freshman than it was as a senior. He couldn't hit his old records in the weight room. It was completely baffling. Everything he'd worked for, it was just slipping away. He was weaker. And despite pushing himself harder than ever, he was slower. The very things that defined him were abandoning him, and he had no idea why. And that's when the real crisis hit, the question that cuts to the core. If I'm not number 23, the star athlete, then who am I? What's left? Well, after years of this confusion, the storm finally got a name, Friedreich Ataxia, FA for short. It's a rare genetic disorder that damages the nervous system. Basically, it slowly severs the lines of communication between your brain and your muscles. And when I say rare, I mean rare. We're talking 1 in 50,000 people. It's the kind of thing you don't think could ever happen to you, a statistical lightning strike. And Jacob puts it so chillingly in his book. He said, "All my hopes and dreams were torn away from me with 2 simple words." In that one moment, everything he had built his entire life on was just gone. But here's the thing. This isn't just a story about everything falling apart. It's about what happens next. It's about rebuilding on something that a storm like this can't even touch. A total shift in perspective. Jacob uses this incredible metaphor, right? He says his whole life was built on sand, on his athletic success. And of course, the storm just washed it all away. So he had no choice. He had to find something new to build on, something solid, something like rock. And this is really the heart of his story. This idea that somehow the worst pressure, the worst suffering can actually create something beautiful, something stronger, like a diamond. He explains it with this amazing metaphor of a butterfly. You start as the caterpillar, right? You have all this potential, but it's just kind of dormant. Then comes the cocoon. That's the struggle. It's dark, you feel trapped, isolated, but that's where the real transformation happens, because you emerge as the butterfly, the person you were always meant to become. And his book's subtitle just nails it. It says it all. Your trials aren't meant to break you, they're meant to make you. That's what the cocoon is all about. So, okay, how do you actually do that? How do you turn a devastating diagnosis into a destiny? Well, he found a new purpose, and he shares it in this one last beautiful story from his book. So, Jacob tells this story about his most prized possession, a fishing lure he called the yellow jig. It was his secret weapon, the one that never, ever failed him. And you know what happens next. One day, a huge fish bites, snaps the line, and just like that, the yellow jig is gone. Lost, sunk to the bottom of the lake. It felt final, irreplaceable. But then, months go by. He's out fishing again, catches a totally different fish. And as he's pulling it in, you are not going to believe this. There, stuck right in its lip, is his lost yellow jig. The very same one. What he thought was gone forever came back to him in the most impossible way. And that just brings it all home, doesn't it? The things we think we've lost for good, our dreams, our plans, even parts of who we are, maybe they're not really gone. Jacob's story shows us that our trials aren't here to break us. They're here to make us. So the question I want to leave you with is, what are your trials meant to make you?